Hello, I am Andrew Eggleton and I take presenters from good to world class. If you're new to this channel, just give it a like and subscribe, and I'll keep you up to date with presenting and tools for my 28 years that is really pioneering this craft. Um, I play at the vanguard. I don't have any peers. I don't feel like I have any competition in this space, and as you get to know me, you'll understand why. I am obsessed with the idea of pure authenticity when presenting, and also work that comes from the heart brain. Okay, what I'm going to take you through today is a real simple chart of what I think is a typical rite of passage, and this goes for everything. And of course, I will be speaking specifically here about presenting, but understand that holistically, or from a helicopter point of view, everything goes through the same rite of passage, and that goes from an Olympic cyclist or sailor to a farmer or at craft or in business. And so it's a little bit of fun. We start off with a little bit of fun, and I've been through all these stages myself. This is how I marked them off. I think about 5-year or 10-year patterns, where I've been, and I've been through all of these. So I identify, and I also, you don't hold it against somebody to be at the beginning or the middle stage of what it is they're doing. You just know that this is a rite of passage, and of course it is up to you as the individual of how fast you want to move through it. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen with you. Here we go, a typical rite of passage. Now, at the beginning stages, which would be quite normal, right, is at first you suck. I remember in the beginning stages of presenting, and I was obsessed with being able to present. I was obsessed with being able to share my message and be on TV and not act, because I was an actor as well, but not act, but be me. I was obsessed with the idea of just be you, but had no idea what that meant. And of course, it's a very ambiguous piece of advice to give somebody, just be you, but we'll get to that soon. So at first you suck. You make mistakes, you fail and you fail and you fail again, but each time we calculate where we went wrong or how we can improve. And of course, at some stage here, when we decide to mentor up or get ourselves a coach. What I learned from acting, this is one of my lessons, was I went to a library in 1994, and I borrowed a handful of books on acting. And do you know what I learned? I learned that you cannot learn acting from books. So when we start out here, we're looking for, we often go onto Google and YouTube, we go into free groups, we download people's free resources, get into their newsletter, we look at all these external things of how we can become a better presenter or better in the craft or sport, or vocation of your choice, but let's stick to presenting. So at first you suck, and you know it. There's this massive gap between who you really are and who you're being seen as on stage or on camera, and it feels awkward, it feels uneasy, it just doesn't feel good, quite simply. We then move on to a different stage, and we've now watched, we're following people in their profession, we're gauging them, we're maybe going along to public speaking events, we're seeing other speakers, we're seeing people we admire, we're watching TED Talks, and we start to imitate those that we admire or love. And if you think to all of the people that you know who imitate the Anthony Robbins and the Brene Browns and the Mel Robbins and the Gary V's, and they imitate not only their stage craft, but they pick and choose information from these people that they admire and then make it their own. So what we have here is a regurgitation of information instead of originality. It's imitation. We're doing our best to imitate someone successful. Now, this is probably the hardest part for an audience to watch, because you know that you're not seeing the real person, and you probably might recognize who they're copying, and for me that's the hardest part for me to watch. It really makes me feel uneasy. Here is, of course, if you want to be a change maker, a visionary, a pioneer, um, a pattern disruptor, it's impossible to do this in the imitation stage. Impossible, because you're regurgitating information. If you're regurgitating information, you're going to get the same result that that information has got, except you might not be delivering it as powerfully or potent or as well as your predecessor or the original person. Only change will create change. Only change will create change. And that cannot happen in the imitation stage. So we want to get out of the imitation really fast. Out of all of these, at first you suck. We want to move through imitation really quickly. And this is where we normally get classes, hire a coach, the technical. And this is where we want to know the foundations of where do I stand, what do I say, how do I get people to put their hands up, what's body language, how do I sell from stage, how do I tell stories, the technical aspects that we lay a lot of importance on at this stage. But when we get past the stage, we actually realize that the technical stage is simply a foundation. It really isn't how you connect with an audience. It's foundation based, but we need these because here we're learning tools. We're learning tools. Every tool, tip, piece of information that we get and implement begins on a surface level. So when we're presenting on camera on stage, at the beginning we're thinking of the technicalities of it. Where am I standing? Where am I looking? Am I projecting my voice out here? Is this where I sell? Is this that beat here? What part of my story am I into? How do I want to make them feel? All very technical and all very logical, and of course places you up in your head. The brain, the mind, the storage unit. Very good storage unit. Okay, we then go into this beautiful place. And I remember being very technically good. I remember getting a lot of work on TV, getting a lot of presenting corporate video, high-end corporate video, and being paid handsomely. And I remember going home and going, I'm pretty good at this. Like, technically, I'm really good at this. But I knew there was something more. And the more I practiced, the more I became obsessed, the more I wanted to be better. I reached a place of artistry, or you could call this craft. And artistry or craft is where things start to become organic, natural. That the things that we've been logically thinking about and practicing, the technical, are no longer top of mind. They're now happening automatically. Thousands of tools are happening or at your disposal all at once, and you're firing off and just doing these things naturally, all the while your personality, the essence of who you really are, is sitting on top and able to play because you're no longer thinking about it anymore. So we're doing these things automatically. You don't walk around a supermarket thinking the technical aspects of being you. These things are all happening automatically, and then when your personality is there to shine. But when we go into a presenting mode, camera or stage, if you are stuck still in the technical and thinking about things, then your personality is not so much there to see. So the craft is where these tools start to really embed. I always think about them, they start at the top and then they move, and when they're in deep in here, deep inside you, you have this sense of certainty and craft. And this is where the magic truly begins. And then there is another level. By the way, I'm sure there's another level after this. I just haven't reached it yet. But considering my obsession, I have bone deep certainty that I will. So after artistry, I kind of thought this was it. Until I had this epiphany back in 2018. And I realized, I just had this moment, I went, I actually know nothing about this. I know nothing about presenting anymore. It's like I realized that I will forever be the student. And there is this whole journey for me to pioneer, to go into the unknown, to recreate how people present, to how can I do this differently? How can I forge a new path for people when we're presenting? Willing to create or to break new ground. How could I do that? So I realized that if I likened it to this craft was an infinite piece of rope, and each day was how far down this rope can I get? So it became infinite. And this, of course, added to my obsession because I went, wow, in the years that I have left, where can I take this that nobody else has taken this before? This is truly where it becomes obsessive, exciting, and where magic really starts to happen. You have to accept in this part here that sometimes you will get things wrong and sometimes you will get things right, but people think you're wrong. But you have to keep going because there's something inside you now that has moved past all these stages and it has become you. You know that you have become a creator instead of a follower. So this is the rite of passage for of myself and what I see in the people that I teach and typical craftspeople, people in sport too. This is the same with people in sport. I have a client who was an America's Cup sailor and then he moved into Olympic cycling. And I was like, how did you go through that transition knowing it would have been the same? And he said exactly what I thought he would. He said I just had to start at the bottom and be useless and improve a little bit every day. Just like what were the people who were already doing it doing? Imitation. What did I need to do that I could do every single day that would improve the technical, the foundations, and then add me into it, bring myself into it. What can I do better than anybody else? The artistry. I hope this helps. I know it helps. There you go. If you like that, I'd love to show you appreciation with a like, and if you would like more information like this, which I do on a regular basis, I upload these on a regular basis, these videos, subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more of my 28 years of experience with you.